Hello, welcome back to another Sunday School Bible class. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are on a lesson entitled, Why Sit We Here and Die? This week's lesson takes place in the Old Testament when the nation of Israel was split into two separate kingdoms of Judah to the south and Israel to the north. The northern kingdom of Israel had disobeyed God by setting up idols and worshiping false gods. And God had sent many prophets to warn them to stop sinning, or he would punish them by sending another nation to conquer them. One nation that went against the kingdom of Israel was the nation of Syria. A large Syrian army besieged, that means encircled the entire city of Samaria, and would not let anyone in or out until the city surrendered. As weeks passed by, the Israelites in the city of Samaria started getting very hungry because there was no more food left in the city, and they could not go out and gather food on their farms or buy food from anywhere else. The Syrians were waiting for them to come out so they would kill them. But if they did not come out, the Syrians planned on starving them to death or waited for them to surrender. Things were so bad that just the smallest piece of food was sold for a very large amount of money. The king of the city, who was not obeying God's commandments, wanted to blame the entire situation on the prophet Elisha. He sent one of his officers to capture and kill Elisha. When the officer went to Elisha's house, God told Elisha that tomorrow food will be sold for the normal price. The officer did not believe it, so Elisha told him that tomorrow he will see it, but not eat of the bounty of food that they will have. That night, there were 4 sick men who suffered from a very bad contagious disease called leprosy, sitting outside the gate of the city. As they sat there, hungry, they talked among themselves and said, "Why sit we here and die? We are starving and dying from this disease. Why don't we go into the camp of the Syrians and ask them for some food? If they kill us, what difference does it make? Because we are dying anyway. We might as well try to get some food." On that same night, God caused the Syrians to hear a strange noise in their camp that sounded like many chariots and horses, like a big army coming after them. They thought that the Israelites hired other nations like the Hittites and the Egyptians to come after them. They all fled their camp and left all their food, clothing, money, and jewelry right in their camp. So these 4 men went into the camp of the Syrians that night, and they found no one there. They went from one tent to another, eating all the food they wanted, and finding silver and gold and clothing, and they were going to keep it all for themselves. Finally, they said, "This is not right. This is a day of good tidings, and we're not telling anyone. We should go to the king of Israel and tell him, or else something is going to happen to us." So they went to the city of Samaria and told the man who took care of the gate of the city, and told him to tell the king that the Syrians are gone, but their camp is full of food, money, and clothing. The king thought, when he heard the report, that the Syrians were setting a trap for the Israelites. He figured that they knew the Israelites were hungry, so they left the camp with all the food and hid, so that when the Israelites came for the food, they would attack them. But one of the king's advisors told the king to send someone to check out the camp of the Syrians and see if it was safe. When they did, they found just as the lepers had said and reported back to the king. So then everyone ran out of the camp, and they ran into the camp of the Syrians and took all the food, clothing, and money, And the next day, there were so many people coming back into the city that they trampled the very man who did not believe the prophecy of Elisha. So just as Elisha had prophesied, the man saw the food, but did not eat of it because he died. In this story, we see that, like the people of Samaria, when we are in such a bad situation where it looks like there's no way out and it looks as if we will suffer a great loss, God can turn things around so quickly and make a way that we could not even imagine. We also see that when God says that He will do something for us that seems incredible, we must not doubt Him as the officer did. As you get older and you come to church more, you will learn of promises God made to you in the Bible that will seem too good to be true. But you must not doubt God. When He makes a promise, He will fulfill that promise, no matter how impossible it seems to us. We also see in this story that people who think they are too old or too sick to do anybody any good can be used of God to help so many other people. What would have happened to all the Israelites in Samaria if those 4 lepers had not gone into the camp of the Syrians? Those 4 lepers were responsible for saving all the lives of the Israelites. Finally, perhaps the most important point of this story is, like the 4 lepers, if our life is falling apart and we are all messed up with problems, if we failed miserably in life or seem to always have problems in our schoolwork, at home, making friends, and trying to succeed, we must never give up or just feel sorry for ourselves. We must not be too proud to go to anyone we can to get help, whether it is a teacher, another student, or our parents. We must keep trying different things, and eventually we will find the help we need. If we are not good at one thing, we should try different areas until we find something that we are good at. There is something, some gift or talent or skill that each one of us has that we must discover and then use to help someone else who is struggling in that area that we are good at. Of course, all of this help and discovery and ability is going to come from God, who promised never to leave us. He is always the first one you should go to on a daily basis and keep telling Him about all your problems. But don't just sit there and feel sorry for yourself. Get up and get going. See you next time. Bye-bye.